We learned earlier that the first church was tolerant of remarriage after the bereavement of a Christian spouse. Then it's time to think about remarriage after the Christian divorce. Those who oppose Christian remarriage after divorce suggests it is based on one or two passages of the Bible. That's not what the whole Bible says, but they oppose it based on their arbitrary interpretation. In Corinthians 7:27 and 28, Paul says this: "Are you pledged to a woman? Do not seek to be released. Are you free from such a commitment? Do not look for a wife. But if you do marry, you have not sinned, and if a virgin marries, she has not sinned. But those who marry will face many troubles in this life, and I want to spare you this." In the second case, being free from your wife means breaking your relationship before. And the freedom I'm talking about here doesn't mean being free after the bereavement of a spouse. So in the second case, space is to be free from divorce and marriage with a spouse. Paul says people free from marriage restraint in severe persecution can remarry. In addition, Paul says it's not a sin to remarry like that. That's why the argument that divorcees cannot remarry under any circumstances is never biblical, says theologian J.E. Adams. Then, it can be interpreted that the church prohibits the remarriage of Christians after the divorce as follows. God eased the divorce burden, and the church again puts heavy duty on them. If you read the whole Bible, divorced people are not prohibited from remarrying except for the priest. Then let's sort it out. The Bible generally allows remarriage and encourages remarriage in some cases and orders remarriage. The Bible says that anyone who divorces for a good reason can remarry. But now, adultery and unsexy divorce are missing from the list of sins that can be forgiven. Such a church's view is equivalent to dirtying the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Have you read the genealogy of Jesus listed in the Gospel of Matthew? There is also Rahab, who was a whore in Jesus' genealogy. There's Bathsheba, who had committed adultery with David. We should not take the divorce issue lightly, but we should not stop God's permission. Think of David and Bathsheba. David committed adultery with Bathsheba and killed Bathsheba's husband. They committed adultery and murder at the same time. Nevertheless, God forgave them. Solomon was born between the two. Jesus was born among the descendants of those two. But when we think about remarriage, we make an error by saying that we are the guilty party and innocent party. But the grace that Christ forgives is more significant than any sin. J.E. Adams says in his book, "Christ is more significant than sin. He is greater than all sins. We must not reduce sin or its consequences. But the power of Christ and the cross must always be maximized." What I said today was the reason why I married my wife. I thought my wife's divorce was right. Her ex-husband was not sincere to her. He had an affair with another woman. He didn't hit her, but he created a violent atmosphere. And he didn't take on financial responsibility. My wife later became a Christian, but her ex-husband was not a Christian. So considering all the facts, I was convinced that marrying my wife was not a sin. We have studied biblical marriage, divorce, and remarriage so far. I learned that Christians could remarry after their spouse's bereavement or divorce. We need to keep this in mind. Christians should not be ahead of or behind the Bible.